Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast 5, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still keep it to 5 minutes. That's why I'm talking so quickly. But we're going to pick out the biggest story of the week, the most remarkable business story, the sleeper story, one that's flying under the radar a little bit, and our favourite story. So let's jump into it. The biggest business story. Can I nominate one for this?
Please.
Look, there was it's not so much a standalone story as a major development in an ongoing story involving Australia's biggest company. BHP's pursuit of rival miner Anglo American just took it up a notch this week. Anglo received a new bid from the big Australian, a $73.9 billion offer. It's BHP's third bid in as many weeks, a 9% increase on what it offered last week, based on the same structure as before, involves selling off a whole bunch of assets. The Anglo board rejected it, but the big difference here is that Anglo has granted BHP a 1-week extension to come up with an improved bid. It sends a bit of a message that, hey, maybe Anglo American is willing to actually discuss this rather than the flat out no's that it has been receiving. It's a big story. BHP is obviously Australia's biggest company, so a lot of Australians own shares in it. What happens to it often affects the rest of the market in some ways. It's just a big story overall, I reckon, Sean.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's probably the biggest story. Honourable mention, though, to Wall Street hitting new records again this week. Also, the local market's been very hot this week.
Indeed. Now, most remarkable, what have you got?
Well, the Star Entertainment Group, what a schmozzle. We've got the Adam Bell inquiry going on, all about whether or not the company can keep its licence. It obviously trades in New South Wales and Queensland. This week, though, a real disaster in terms of communication to shareholders. It was a major red-face moment, and people lost money on the back of this. Hard Rock International, the Florida-based hospitality giant, distanced itself from media reports that it was in talks to buy Star Entertainment. Now, what it turns out that the interested party wasn't Hard Rock International, but a Brisbane property developer with links to the now-defunct Hard Rock Cafe and Service Paradise. The announcement to the ASX that came from Star said it had received an approach from a consortium including Hard Rock Hotels and Resorts, different to Hard Rock International, which, and I quote, it understands is a local partner of Hard Rock. A little bit of due diligence on the fact would have been worthwhile, particularly to those investors that lost money, Michael.
Yeah, certainly would be. Sean, the most remarkable I thought was about NVIDIA, the chip maker. We already knew it was flying, but this is just ridiculous. The company's revenue climbed 262% in the past quarter. Expectations were already high. NVIDIA just blew past them entirely. All about AI, the mad rush for the computing power behind the technology. All the big tech companies are racing to deliver these products at scale, and so they all need NVIDIA's products. But the numbers, in the March quarter, NVIDIA was making about $29 million a day in revenue. Its shares are up about 90% this year alone. Another big jump this week after these results were announced. But how about this? CEO Jensen Huang reckons the growth is actually going to continue. They're releasing a new chip later this year, Blackwell AI chip. It's worth between $30,000 to $40,000 per unit. It sounds like NVIDIA isn't slowing down. They are predicting, and I quote, a lot of revenue this year. This is remarkable.
It sure is remarkable. Michael, can I tell you about my sleeper story? Telstra's share price. There's about 1.3 million shareholders in Telstra, thanks to the fact it was a government-owned entity, sold off. Many Australians finally got into the share market, or at least got into the share market for the first time. It is the company that caused people to buy stock. But while we were looking away, watching what else was going on in the world, Telstra has really been struggling. Its share price at one point this week was down 7% at a 3-year low. It started when the country's largest telco said it will shed 2,800 jobs. The reason is that outside mobiles, it isn't doing that well. The enterprise division is fighting the shift to the cloud. The consumer business has been hit by the NBN. The business division is suffering from people not using landlines. In fact, the boss, Vicky Brady, doesn't even have one on her desk. There's also increased competition from Optus and TPG. Like records before, the media industry, plenty of others, Telstra is a legacy business, struggling to keep up in a tech-driven world. Because its share price fell so much this week, no one was really talking about it. I think it's a pretty good sleeper story.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Let's wrap it up with the favourite story of the week. For me, Sean, the fact that the UK is heading to the polls on July 4, it's a surprise, a bit of an earlier general election than expected. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced it this week. It's the latest political drama from a country not really known for political chaos until about the last decade or so, because things have certainly changed. It's going to be a big battle for the incumbent, because Labor, led by Keir Starmer, is considered a shoo-in. Some polls put Labor's lead at 27 percentage points, which is just enormous. And the campaign is zeroing in on what they've dubbed Tory chaos, which kind of makes sense given that the Conservative government has had 5 prime ministers since they came to power, 4 of them in just the last 8 years. One of them was there for just 49 days in total. Rishi Sunak has decided to go to the polls a bit earlier than expected. Some of his colleagues aren't too happy. They want the economy to be in a better shape before they do that. But he's done it. He announced it in the rain without an umbrella. There were protesters there. The pictures aren't great. The newspapers had a field day with it. Let the drama begin, Sean.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's probably my favourite story too. Just a quick mention, though, of the Oxford Economics inaugural Global Cities Index, top 1,000 urban regions in the world. Melbourne came in at 9. Sydney came in at 16. Perth at 23. Not bad, Michael.
Yeah, not too bad at all. There we go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and join us online on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook and X. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed.